Evidence that the Bureau has been gathering over many months now shows that the United States has been credibly reported as killing at least 280 civilians in Pakistan, and it could be as many as 500. And our most recent report, the one we just published, shows that the CIA's drones have been deliberately targeting both rescuers. These are people in Pakistan who've been going to help the victims of drone strikes which have just happened, and also of funerals. They've been deliberately targeting funerals and attacking people at funerals. And in both situations, civilians are being killed. We've recorded the names of more than 50 of those civilians, and we think at least 75 have been killed in those attacks. The CIA has been saying for some time now that it hasn't killed a civilian in Pakistan since at least May 2010. Every news agency out there in Pakistan, every credible news organization that's looked at this is finding that that's not the case. We know that civilians are being killed in Pakistan with these drone strikes, and in fact the Bureau of Investigative Journalism has provided the CIA with the names of more than 100 civilians that have been killed in recent months and the last couple of years. So to say that civilians aren't dying is simply untrue. The evidence is telling us something completely contrary to that, and we agree with the Los Angeles Times, which called yesterday for a full inquiry by the US Congress and the courts into our findings and into what the CIA is actually doing out in Pakistan. The evidence from the ground does seem to suggest that Al-Qaeda is a significantly reduced organisation, and in fact, as late as November last year, the United States was describing Al-Qaeda as having been reduced effectively to just 2 men in Pakistan. The issue with the drone strikes is that it very rarely targets Al-Qaeda. Most of the time, the drone strikes are actually attacking insurgents who are part of the Afghan Taliban who are fighting a war across the border in Afghanistan. So while it's fair to say that the US does target Al-Qaeda, those targets are just a small proportion of a far greater number, which are really about the war in Afghanistan. It's not about the global war on terror and fighting Al-Qaeda. Pakistan is clearly very unhappy with these strikes. There's an interview in a British newspaper today with the Pakistan High Commissioner to London, describing the drone strikes as in effect extrajudicial executions, state-sanctioned executions. This is a very senior diplomat of the Pakistan government saying that the drone strikes are a major problem. There does seem to be an indication now that these drone strikes are happening despite what Pakistan wants, not because of what Pakistan wants. These are causing huge problems within Pakistan. We're showing, and others are showing, that civilians are being killed in these attacks. There is an issue for the United States about the strategic achievement of these drones versus the military achievement. They may be killing militants, but the long-term consequences, I suspect, for the United States could be really problematic here. I mean, that was a comment in the New York Times regarding our report from an anonymous US counter-terrorism official, and I think that's telling. That official is hiding behind anonymity to launch an outrageous attack on credible journalism. It is the role of journalists to hold governments to account, and that's what we do with our report. We presented our findings in full. It's all transparent. It's available for people to look at and criticize. For an anonymous official to hide behind their anonymity and to claim that we are assisting Al-Qaeda is outrageous. And we're calling on the CIA Inspector General, who holds the CIA to account for this sort of thing, to actually launch an investigation into whether CIA officials might have been abusing their anonymity and through that launching smears on legitimate journalists. If that is the United States policy, that anyone who lives with or alongside militants is a civilian and is therefore a legitimate target, that raises really profound issues about the laws of war and about the legality of modern warfare. That is really saying that anyone in an urban environment, in a civil strife situation, might be a target. That's saying that rescuers are valid targets, people going to funerals are valid targets. If anyone is fair game simply because of their proximity to fighters, if that is the view of the United States, and it's not clear yet that it is, that would be raising really profound issues that I suspect both the national US courts and the International Criminal Court would really want to have a very strong look at. The United States court has ever looked at the legality of these drone strikes, and there's a reason for that. Every time a case has been brought in the United States that has attempted to look at whether these strikes are legal or not. The United States has claimed something called state secrets privilege. That's where they say, actually, this is a covert operation and we can't discuss it. We can neither confirm nor deny that this operation even exists. Well, that's somewhat been blown out of the water by the president himself going on Google recently and talking live to Americans about the existence of this so-called covert program. There really does need to be an accounting here and an examination by the US courts about the legality of these drone strikes and the various additional legal questions that they raise. And that time, I suspect, is coming quite close, given the pressure in the US right now.